All right.
Hey guys, it's Nikki,
It's Sam.
and we're here. So what's next? So, Sam, I know that, coming into 2020, we all had high hopes and high expectations. And in today's episode, I kind of want us to dig deep into that because
Mhm.
2020 was a year.
Right.
I can't say it's good, bad, or indifferent, but 2020 has been a year. And we kind of want to take some time to unpack some of the things that have happened in 2020. And, what are we looking forward to the future, right?
Right.
So what? What's
What's
next?
what's next for real? 2021.
I think I kind of want to get started with 2020 and saying, like we really used to be outside. Like,
That was nice. Picnics was going on. You know what I'm saying? Movies. Just driving by to see people. Just be like, hey, I'm in the neighborhood. I'm gonna just stop by real quick. That was all nice. Barbecues.
listen,
Barbe-
kickbacks.
yep. Kickbacks. Yep. Yep.
Like, and you know me, like I'm brunch babe extraordinaire. So like weekends were made for finding outfits for brunch when you already have a closet full of clothes to wear
Yeah.
because you and all your people are getting together to flex and to kind of, you know,
It had to hit Atlanta pretty hard though, right? Because I mean that brunch scene is serious out there. So
So I think the one of the most serious scenes around brunches that I've seen has been, DC and Houston, and I'll say Atlanta is a strong third.
ooh,
But it's a big deal here. So little things like just saying, "Hey, let's go to another Broken Egg. Let's link up at like one," or we're going to the Four Seasons and picking up some food and some mimosas and things like that. Like we really used to do that
mhm.
freely, without masks.
Yeah, those days are long gone.
Yeah, man. And then, it's like January got here, February was here, and we're making all these travel plans and we're getting in the stride of things. And
Yep.
then right mid-March, they're like, so
No.
listen, we know you got all these plans, but girl, we finna go into a pandemic. Like, I mean, Sam, do you remember where you were when they officially shut down your city?
You know, for me, I probably was at work. I'm always at work, so I probably was at work. But what's crazy is the pandemic really didn't change a whole lot for me. But it did make me start judging people though, right? Like somebody just want to slide through your house, you're like, hey, bro, you can't come over here. Like I don't know where you've been at. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, you judge people that don't wash their hands or clean their desks at work. You know what I'm saying? So it started making me a little bit like a germaphobe. I became a germaphobe for sure.
It also made me realize how rebellious some of my friends are,
Mm,
right? Like, we have no problem staying at home when it's
mhm.
our choice.
Right.
But once we are forced inside, it's kind of like everybody's like, fuck that, I'm going out.
Right.
Like, they're literally trying to find ways to defy orders. And, I mean, again, I felt like, Atlanta tried to handle it as best as possible with Mayor Bottoms, Mayor Keisha coming in and saying, hey, y'all sit down and be quiet.
Yeah.
Right? Y'all sit down, wash your hands, and then we'll be back outside to play. And then
Mhm.
our governor basically said, you know what, enough is enough. I need Trump to be in my corner. So let me go ahead and agree with, whatever he's saying. And
That worked out well for him too. At the end of the day, at the end of the year.
let me tell you something. My God is a God of completion. Do you hear me? Because he brought that thing full circle. Okay. God,
He did do that.
God brought that thing full circle because literally Kemp was, high-fiving Trump and going along with the whole mantra of, we'll be open by Easter or we're going to open up and do these different things. Only to what? Recently Trump is literally saying that he's throwing the election and he's never been a true Republican and all these other different things. And Kemp has nothing to show for it.
Yeah, nothing,
Just begging
nothing
his
at
face.
all. I'm gonna ask you a question. Do you think without COVID, do you think Trump's still president?
Oh,
That's a sidebar.
absolutely.
I think so too. I think so too.
Absolutely.
I
He
think so too.
wins in a landslide. If Trump, if If Trump would have literally said, hey, you know what? COVID is happening. We'll do our best to contain it. And even if I really feel, even if this summer, if he just came in and said, hey, you know what? I was wrong. Or you know what? Let's just go on a quick shutdown here. Let's try to get these numbers back under control. I feel like he would have definitely shifted the whole dynamic of the election, and he's in his second term
I,
because
go ahead.
people are going to follow him, right?
Yeah, I think it's weird because I think he didn't even have to shut down the country. I think if he just would have acknowledged the virus and just been like, we got to do safety precautions. I trust y'all to wear masks. I trust y'all to safely social distance, and we're going to keep this economy going because y'all have the power to overcome this virus. I honestly think he would have won. I think he'd have won by a landslide too. The fact that he did not do that, I honestly, and you know, it's funny because I listen to somebody talk about this, how it seems like presidents are destined to become president.
Yep.
And it's always something weird that happens for a long shot to actually win presidency. You know, like for Obama, had the housing market not crash, I mean, John McCain beats the unknown senator from Illinois. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But that happened, you know, and somebody was saying today, if Obama never makes that joke at the correspondent dinner about Trump, maybe Trump never becomes president. And nobody wanted to vote, not even black people wanted to vote for Joe Biden, but
it's the butterfly effect, right?
It really is. It really is. It's crazy. It is crazy.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, I think even on top of that, right, I think one of the things that we talked about in one of the group chats is, even with the country on lockdown and no true real direction from the occupant of the White House, you know, people were trying to figure out, you know, who's going to lead us during this time and who's going to step up to the plate. And it had to be, you know, people who literally are running the cities, not the state. People who run the cities, right? Mayors had to come in and say, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to shut down. We're going to, you know, take this serious. You know, the only thing that when you look at it in hindsight, that sounds crazy is, you know, essential workers, you have to go to work, right? But you can't come out the house after 10 o'clock.
Right.
You work at 7, leave work at 5 or 6, but you know what? After everything shuts down, you can't come back out. And I'm like, you can't tell adults in that manner. It's not, the messaging is a horrible. But one of the things I did want to kind of pivot to right quick was, even when we really used to be outside, one of the things that we hear a lot about now is dating during the times of quarantine, right? And some of the success, as well as some of the struggles, and even some of the new lives that'll be coming into the world in 2021 are going to be owed to quarantine. So kind of tell me what your thoughts are, you know, around cuddling during Corona or canoodling during quarantine.
Wow. My dating life. Well, I get out and date. I have dated. I think I've dated 2021. I think I dated 3 women this year. So it wasn't all bad, but it is a big, I think it is different because you're limited on how you date. You're limited on how you interact with people.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that kind of hurts the connection a little bit. And also, not just black women, but women in general, they need confirmation when it comes to dating, right? So it's kind of hard to confirm a lot of things with women when you're not able to be physically present with them a lot, because they like to read mannerisms and body language, and you know, I'm just being real. So it's complicated. It's complicated. I don't personally worry about stuff like that, mainly because I'm working so much, and I've decided to just pile everything that I possibly can find on my table, and whatever fits on that table is what's on the table for me. That's the mentality I've had, you know.
Yeah, I follow along those lines because, you know, I think one of the things that I've discovered, even from talking to friends or even just seeing what people are sharing candidly on social media, is that connection building has been tough during quarantine. You know, for people who live alone, people who, you know, are highly extroverted and they need that human connection, that human touch, if you will, that being their love language or how they even love. I think ultimately, you know, quarantine was tough, right? Because
Right.
people were saying in the first, you know, couple of weeks, it's like, okay, I'm on lockdown. Let me find out about me. Let me work on me. Let me
Right.
become a better me. And then, you know, 4 or 5 weeks pass, and it's kind of like, you know, people are craving affection. They're craving, you know, the company of others, and you're fearful in one on one side because you're trying to you know, be compliant, you're trying to, you know, socially distance and all these other things. And then on the other side, it's kind of like you're human, you have these feelings, you want to express them with someone else. And you know, I will tell you that dating during COVID was interesting.
Mm.
Because you know, number one, you're limited on the places you can go, right? So where you
And that's the biggest thing, right? That's the biggest thing, right? Yeah,
right. So
that's the
there's more
biggest.
walks in the park. There are, you know, more walks in the neighborhood. There's
Mm.
more, you know, hanging out in unconventional places so you can be compliant as well as try to talk to someone. But you know, the awkwardness of having to almost yell because you have to sit 6 feet apart. The
Right.
awkwardness of, you know, well, when I meet you, do I hug you? Do I touch you? Or, you know, do we bump elbows?
Right. Right.
You know, which I think personally it's going to change the way we date. Like we're going to literally have to be reprogrammed in how to function socially to a certain extent because we've spent most of this year programming ourselves not to touch other people or, you know, to not hug because your cooties can spread or whatever the case
True.
may be. So I think ultimately we're going to have to learn how to be affectionate towards each other again.
You know, it's crazy because I'm an Aquarius. So the introvertness of me just somewhat liked it. This whole social distance thing. Like I come to work, I'm like, hey man, back up. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
you're supposed to be around me, bro. What are you doing in here? Like one person in the office today. You know what I'm saying? So some of
Right.
the like this, some of it, but it was a time we had a COVID outbreak at the job,
Oh
and
no.
yeah, we had a COVID outbreak. We've had several actually, but we had one in particular in the close area where I was at, and I couldn't be around my son for like I think it was 13 days, 12 days. It was 12 days. I got tested twice within the 12 days,
Yeah.
and I mean, as far as being close to another human being, that's like the only person like currently that I'm like really close with. I've gotten to a point where I need to kick him out of my bed, but low key, I kind of like him being in my bed. I'm not gonna lie. You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
talk big talk. I talk big talk in front of everybody else, but low key, I like the little body kicking me in the back. You know what I'm saying? So it's tough. You know, it's tough. Not having that connection for 12 days. I was like,
Yeah.
man, and after I came back from that, I always wear my mask at work around people. When it's more than two people in the office, I walk completely out of there. Like, y'all got it. I'm out. I go somewhere else. And people
Right.
be like, man, you being weird. But it's like, I don't want to lose that time. You know what I'm saying? I need that connection with my son. So, and I definitely didn't want to give him COVID and he goes
Right.
spread it at a daycare. So, you know, it is, I think it changes the way you look at people. It really does. Like, people that take it serious, people that don't take it serious. It's like, if you don't take this serious, what do you take serious?
That's very true. And even along those lines, I kind of had the same thing where I realized some people really don't like their family. Some people
No,
really don't like their kids. Some people really don't like the
they're
person who
snippy.
they chose to marry because
Yeah.
they have been miserable in quarantine, you know, early on lockdown. But I'll be honest and say that this has been some of the best times that I've spent with Mini Cat. Like we've grown so much closer together. And, you know, I'm hoping that when she looks back on this 10, 15, 20 years from now, that she realizes, you know, that a lot of our closeness came from this time that, you know, we've spent together. And even along those lines, I'll say that COVID has taught me or has opened up to me relationships that are worth serving,
Hmm.
and relationships that are worth, you know, definitely cutting off.
Right.
And I'm not one of those people where it's like I'm texting you, oh, I cut you off. It's one of those things where I just naturally let it happen. But
Right.
you know, this year has really showed me that the people that I love and hold close and dear to me feel the same way about me.
Right.
You know, where the phone calls, the text messages, the voice notes, the Zooms, the Skypes, Teams, FaceTime. I mean, any way to get in contact with me, people have gone above and beyond. And even, you know, myself, I find myself, you know, talking on the phone more, and that's not my thing, right?
Right.
Like,
Right.
I can literally text you all day. But if I talk on the phone with you for more than, you know, 20, 30 minutes, I definitely love you.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'll say that this has taught me to how to nurture those that are really in on my side and in my corner. And it's given me, you know, confirmation of what I know. I'm also thankful for the new people that came into my life this year, right? Because again, social media has played a huge part in this,
Right.
because it again gives you another form of connectivity, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's been amazing to, you know, meet new people, connect with them on, you know, silly things as well as, you know, important things, pivotal things, and being able to, you know, continue to build that network. So
So I got a question, because you're talking about connecting with people.
yeah.
How many group chats is enough group chats? Like, how many group
Woo!
chats do we need? How many group chats do we need? Like, I talked to 2 or 3 people about a couple things. Next thing I know, they've created a group chat by the time I get home. I want group chats to stop. I need group chats to stop. Then people forget who's in the group chat, and they start talking shit about them. Then the
And
person
then you
like,
got to
I'm in
start
this
a new
group.
group.
Yeah, they're like, now we got to start a new group because you don't talk shit about this person. We got to eliminate this person out the group. I need the group chats to stop. Like, I started playing golf. I got like 3 guys to play golf with, and now it's like we got to start a golf group chat. So now everybody dropping all this golf stuff in there. Then this other guy like want to add this other guy to the group chat, and people got to okay the group chat. I'm like, bro, it's too many group chats. I want all the group chats to stop. I want everybody to individually text me for now. I'm done.
So yeah, I will say that this I
How
definitely
many group chats are you in, Nikki? Because I think you got the most group chats.
I
That's a lot.
there's 12 off rip that I can think about. And that's not including the side conversations, right? So there's some group chats where there's like 17 of us.
Oh
And
my
then
God.
like 4 of us from the 17 have our own separate group. And then there's some where there's like the one of my favorite ones is like 42 of us in there, and we're just in there talking trash about any and everything, mainly college football, but any and everything. And then out of those 42, everybody's an individual text. Like there's no group text from that group. But
how do you keep your phone charged? I can't keep my phone charged anymore. I get off of work and my phone's almost dead because I got okay. I got
shout out to Mofi because
okay.
because this is what keeps me in business. And then I even have work group chats, right? So like my friends at work, we have our own group chat, and then my team, we have our own group chat, and then our leader, our boss's boss, then starts a group chat with us. So I'm not even counting that. So there's a ton, but I will be honest and say that I had to edit notifications because at one point my whole screen was just nothing but alerts from these messages, and my phone was just constantly going off. But again, it also gives me the opportunity to know that, I'm able to still be involved and engaged.
It feels like they're always with you though.
There's some days where I'm just like, hey, I'm checking out. Like I'll just come back in here in 2 days and y'all got to give me the Cliff Notes version of what happened.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but you know what? That brings me to another thing, right? Because the group chat is always popping based off of whatever, we're talking about, whether it's a trending topic, whether, somebody has said something crazy, or usually something we saw on Twitter or Instagram that gets all the buzz. So another thing in 2024, I'll recap here, content is king. So Sam, I'm going to ask you, what are some of the things in 2020 that sent your group chats buzzing or some of the things that we saw, we listened to, from movies, TV, sports, specials, podcasts. There was so much content this year. What are some of those things that, caught your attention?
Yeah, I guess my favorite podcast this year was probably Way Down in the Hole with Jamel Hill and Van Lathan. Was easily my favorite podcast. Them doing that deep dive on The Wire, especially when you're talking about what we had going on with the Black Lives Matters this year and the death of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor. I didn't even know about that book, The Wire, All the Pieces Matter. But after listening to that podcast, I went and bought the book. I read the book. Great book. Of course, Lovecraft Country was amazing content.
Superb
content. Loved it. Matter of fact, it was even better because on December 21st, we all got our superpowers, which made complete sense.
Absolutely. We were waiting, and Lovecraft Country prepared us for December 21st.
It unlocked our powers. It let us know it was coming. Don't be afraid of it. So I was really excited about that. And of course, my favorite show the whole year was The Watchmen. I thought The Watchmen was the best thing I've seen on television probably since The Wire. The Watchmen was best thing I watched. Then When They See Us come out this year, was that last year? Because if the COVID year is crazy, because COVID year actually lasted for 3 years.
Yeah, so a day in the COVID year is like a month. So right. I want to say that came out last year.
Okay,
When They See Us came out last year.
I'm gonna check that. You go ahead though.
No, so I totally agree. Lovecraft Country, Watchmen.
2019.
What happened? It was 2019?
Yeah, it was 2019. You're right. Okay. But it felt like it happened this year.
It felt this year. Yeah.
Yeah,
I totally agree with you. I rewatched The Wire. I did. That was what I rewatched The Wire in March, right after St. Patrick's Day, because that's when we were officially, on lockdown and homeschooling. So I tend to rewatch the whole series like once a year, but this year I don't know why it resonated so much with me this year. But again,
because all the things we watched, though, all the things that happened this year, this social and awakening that we had in the country this year for a lot of people, and to watch that movement be so loud. And I think the biggest thing was people kept saying, well, I never knew these things, but it's like they actually always been in front of your face. So The Wire is one of those prime examples of this show that's 20 years old, that's always been there, and that showed all of it. And
it's always been in front of our faces, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's amazing. I mean, The Wire is one of those shows that you should watch every year. You should make your kids watch. I'm not saying they need to be a certain age, but to me, it's educational.
Yeah, I feel like they should show this to, show this to the kids in elementary school. Let's get a little shock value going early. I loved it because it just made me look at all the characters differently. Like I keep looking, every time I rewatch it, I see them all through a different lens, right? Because from when I first saw it to, where I am now, it's kind of like, wow, like you really see people that you may know in these people, in these characters, and things like that. But you had also mentioned podcasts. I will say during COVID, the podcasts have been exceptional, right? Because I believe that, a lot of people listen to podcasts on their way to work. Whenever they're getting a lot of windshield time, on their way home, in between classes, things like that. And I feel like a lot of the podcasters and even the influencers were able to curate content that made it feel like all of us were together, right? You're not alone in this, right? Some of my favorite ones are, The Read, The Friend Zone, tons of Pod Save America, because of course this was an election year, so the guys were on it. Definitely love The Brilliant Idiots. Secret Lives of Black Women was really good. Therapy for Black Girls, the podcast was really good. Paychecks and Balances. I really like that podcast. Two black men that kind of navigate through, finances and estate planning and helping people to understand, life beyond their balling phase.
Right.
On Purpose with Jay Shetty was really good. Really love him. A former monk who has been podcasting for like maybe a year and some change, and he's taken some of the learnings from when he was a monk, and segueing that into ways to heal and to improve and things of that nature. But all in all, my favorite podcast this year was Democracy-ish. Shout out to Toure Roberts and Danielle Moody. I mean, when I tell you they have such a way to connect with you around politics and kind of, letting you know, like, hey, 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other, right? We're no better in any state, but, for the sake of the democracy, and if the country is still standing, here are the steps we need to take. So, podcasting, it was an all-time, high. And I love
I got two other things too.
Tell me.
The Bakari Sellers podcast, that new one that came out.
Love Bakari. Yeah.
Love Bakari. Bakari changed my whole way of thinking. He did an interview with Sonny Huston, where they talked about Kamala Harris' record, her prosecutor record. And because I was not a big Kamala Harris fan at all. Basically because of what I'm reading on Twitter.
You and 36% of black men were not fans.
Right. But I was, once I listened to that podcast, Sonny Huston talked about how we need actually more black prosecutors, not less. And we have to stop villainizing black prosecutors as bad people, because we never look at how many cases they throw out, not just the case they prosecute. So that podcast was amazing to me. And something that came out on Disney that I love, I didn't get a chance to watch the play. I wish I would have watched the play. Hamilton.
Yes, Hamilton was. Awesome. I was fortunate enough to go see it live in Chicago.
Did you see it with the original cast?
So it wasn't the original cast.
Okay.
The cast we saw in Chicago was not the original cast.
Okay.
Still superb. Still, like, the funniest thing to me were the reactions on Twitter, because everybody was like, we were in the room where it happened. Where it happened.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember seeing that. Yeah, I was jealous.
And the other part was they were like, wait, they're rapping social studies? I could have got an A if everybody rapped social studies. So yeah, that was good. You want to know what else is funny?
What's that?
These things happened this year. Tiger King was released on Netflix this year. Does that feel like 2020?
Okay, Tiger King was too much redneck for me. I couldn't watch it. I didn't watch Tiger King. It was too much redneck for me. I was like, you know what? Tigers, wife feeding husband to the tigers. Got gay redneck with 3 husbands. I was like, I can't. Like, my spirit wasn't going to be able to receive that. I couldn't do it. So,
but it's so fitting. It's so fitting for 2020. How could you not literally watch this? Like, it was crazy. Like, to the point where it was so mainstream that Carol Baskins was one of the contestants on Dancing with the Stars.
Right, because we love trash television. And
we love trash television. Joe Exotic was out there wilding with the Tigers. And Joe Exotic, like, let me tell you, you got to get some friends and employees like the ones that Joe Exotic has, because people have lost limbs working with the Tigers, and they still rocking with Joe.
But let me ask you a question though. You say that, but where we are in this country, does anything surprise you when somebody believes in a white guy that's stealing money?
No, but it's wild to me that,
there's a parallel there. There's a parallel there.
The middle of Oklahoma running us like a whole scam.
Yeah.
People were literally lining up to go to these Tigers that are trained by amateurs. And my mind is blown. But you want to know what else happened this year that we totally forgot?
What's that?
Trump was impeached this year.
Trump was impeached this year. And I think the only reason we didn't care is because he didn't leave office.
we knew that, right? Like, we knew he wasn't leaving office. We knew that Moscow Mitch, and team were not
Yeah.
going to get him out. But it was like, wait, that happened this year.
You know what's crazy though? People, not only did they gloss over the impeachment, they actually glossed over the reasons why he got impeached.
Right.
And what's funny about that is because people keep saying, well, oh, the reason why they want to accept the election results is because look what y'all did to Trump when he was in office with the Russia hoax. I'm like, no, Russia actually influenced the election, and y'all actually had meetings with Russia.
Literally.
Like, this really happened.
Like literally, I want to say a year ago, the impeachment filings happened, and all these things are coming out that our security, and intelligence teams are saying these things happen. And the first thing people say is, well, read it for yourself, right? You go and read it. And then you ask them, what did you read it? No. Yeah. It's like I am talking to a brick wall, but it's wild to me that happened this year. And because so much shit has happened this year, we don't even remember that.
Nah, man, that shit happened in COVID time. It happened COVID time, man. That shit's like, it happened, but it didn't matter because he was still in office, and we're going through a pandemic now.
Right. And nobody cared. But, I cannot wait to see the history books. Like, my kids, I want to see what their history books are going to say about the things that happened.
I guess I asked you later on, but a question I got, do you think we're evolving as a society, or do you feel like we're devolving? Because that's a big question for me. Like, every day I wake up every day and I think about that. Like, are we evolving or are we devolving? Because it feels weird.
I want to say that we are evolving. I want to say that. Right. I really want to say that and believe that. But the one thing that I think in my Black experience is that it's frustrating that I'm talking to my parents and my grandparents and some of the same things that they've experienced and encountered.
Right.
I'm experiencing, and now I'm having to tell my children about it so that they can, I almost feel like I'm ruining their innocence, right? Because I have to explain these things. But when I talk to, my friends that are my non-Black friends, they see everything glass half full. They see where we're a better society. And because in our lifetimes, we've elected a Black president, and now we have a Black vice president, and there's a woman in office, and all these different things that they are I like to call it the non-Black people speaking points that they tend to bring up with us to show us where we're a better society. I can't necessarily say that with confidence that we are. I can't. I struggle to say that wholeheartedly, knowing that as a Black woman, my struggle has just opened my eyes to the complete power structure that's there in everything.
Right.
Right. The struggle to be seen, to be heard, to be visible, to be, respected even. It's constantly something that is in the forefront of my mind of how do I go about this day being a good Black person. Shout out to Gerard Carmichael.
It's odd because if you ever read about Reconstruction, the first, 7 years of Reconstruction, a lot of Black people became governors, House representatives, school teachers. They ascended in this country in a way that's like how we see now, like a Black president, and we're seeing now Black nurses become councilwomen and stuff like that. But when you see people storming Capitol buildings with AR-15s, that's not that different when they were storming Capitol buildings during Reconstruction with shotguns.
Right, Jim Crow
era. So I don't know. I don't know where we're at. I don't know if we're at a crossroads, because somebody said it's a crossroads, but my granddad was like, 1960s, it was a little different. He was like, I don't know if y'all at a crossroads. Maybe the crossroad has lasted 40, 50, 60 years, maybe. Maybe we at a standstill. He said he wouldn't call it a crossroads, but I don't know. It's just a question I was asking. I think about it. I think about it often actually when I wake up because I see a lot of dumb stuff and sometimes I be like, maybe I'm just looking at the fringe group of and where I live at. I live in Jacksonville, but I work in Southern Georgia, and it's a certain way of thinking that it goes on down there. Not just with white people, black people also. So I always think about that.
Yeah, I think, especially living here in Atlanta, you hear a lot about the wealth inequality, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even in one of the infamous group chats, we were talking about it, and they were saying that only 1% of people of African Americans, I believe, in this city make over six figures. And I immediately jumped in and was like, no, that's not accurate. I can debunk that stat right now because I have 7 people I can immediately call and tell you that that's not the case. But when I think about it, we all live in a specific bubble, just how you just shared
Mm-hmm.
in your surroundings and in your city. Same thing here, right? We all live in a certain bubble where we can only see what's around us.
Mm-hmm.
I like to say that I'm blessed where I can literally go down 5 doors and there's going to be an African American family. I can go to the left or the right and I'm going to run into that. I can go to, different places, within a certain radius, and I'm going to run into the traditional Black nuclear family and see that. When I go to other cities and other areas, you don't necessarily see that.
Not
Right?
really, no.
And those flyover states a lot of times, right? Like I have friends that live in Omaha and I keep asking them, do you ever get an itch to like leave Omaha? Like I don't know about Omaha having a large Black population, but they're basically saying that this is their home. And even though, they're encountering struggles,
Yeah.
they don't want to leave. And I get that. I just believe that, being in that bubble kind of isolates us from other areas of understanding, wealth and understanding generational wealth, right? Or even, being able to, provide for families, right? And, I think in the run of 2020, giving people $1,800 during a pandemic and hoping that stimulates the economy just does not register well for me.
But let's do we have that on the docket? Because I want to talk about that.
No, let's dig into it.
Okay, so I was having an interesting conversation with somebody, and it was like, you just can't keep printing money. I think Rand Paul was saying something about you can't just keep printing money, giving money away, and all these things. And I agree with Rand Paul. I actually do agree with him on this point. But my bigger point with all this stuff is, and I listened to somebody say this, they said, should we be asking the government to fix our problems and solve our issues?
Oh, Sam, they asked if we're socialists, basically, right?
Right. Basically. So I was talking to somebody about this, and I said, well, you look at certain things like these mega churches, like Joel Osteen, for example. Like this guy got $4.4 million from the government for his church. So, like, should the church step in on some of this stuff and be like, we're going to feed the people that's been giving us time for the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years? Like, I don't know how you solve these issues, but the thing I can't understand is if you're going to take 30% of somebody's check, you're not giving them free money. You're just basically giving them the money back that they've already given the government, which you've wasted for Space Force and all these other military endeavors.
Yeah,
it's one of those things where I don't know. Should we ask the government to solve issues? I don't think we should, but at the same time, the government is mandating money out of our checks.
Right. They don't ask me to take taxes out, right? They don't trust me enough to pay them, so they take my taxes out up front, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
unemployment's a mess. Unemployment's a mess. They slow it down on purpose so you can't get it. So
yeah. So, and I'm the first to admit that I don't feel like I'm a true independent. I've been Democrat my whole life. I don't think that's a secret to anybody. But I'm also one of those people where I am, socially liberal, but I'm fiscally conservative, right?
Right, which is most black people. Most
very
black people
true.
are conservative. Yeah,
very true. I also am one of those people where, I do believe government should step in when they fuck up, right?
Yeah.
And because one of the three branches of the government totally messed up this whole COVID situation, I believe they needed to step in, right? Because the shutdown was okay, right? Everybody was shut down. They were giving the unemployment insurance, the $600 a week. They were giving, people, the $1,200. And it's kind of like, okay, right? When you see other countries, giving out money every week, we have to make sure we're comparing apples to apples as well, right?
Right.
Some of these countries, we have a higher population. Some of these countries, they have a better economic status, right? Where their debt, excuse me, and how they're managing their money is much better than how we do things here in the United States.
Right.
My problem is if we can find millions and trillions of dollars for erectile dysfunction medication for men, we have the money.
Hold on, Nick.
There's if you ever take the time to kind of just gaze through some of these documents and some of the bills and some of the tax reforms and things that they're passing, and you see where they're allocating these funds for certain things, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's wild to me because you're telling me, we don't have a place to, shelter people. We don't have a place to do these things to help people.
Right, but let's not start with the gas station pills though. Let's You're
not talking about the blue chew.
Let's leave the blue chews alone for right now.
That's a perfect example, right? Here's a perfect example of government at work. They keep pushing all of these different bills as COVID relief, relief. When I think it was just discovered over the last 2 days that in this latest bill, like streaming content can be illegal. Streaming certain types of content can now be illegal, and you can go to jail. It's now a felony, right? So, but you don't have time, even as a member of Congress, to read through all of these things. So a lay person who's not into, these government conversations and policies and things that are being passed, we're not going to read that. We don't know. All we hear is the bill's going to allocate $900 million in order to help people for COVID relief, when in reality, that bill funds, more weapons for the military. It funds different things that's not being pushed or advertised because it's all about messaging, which I feel like the Republicans have mastered. They have mastered messaging. Meanwhile, the other political parties, such as, the Democrats, we suck at messaging. We suck at staying on point and on task. And, it just calls for new leadership. I think even our conversations have been, you and I, about who needs to lead the Democratic Party moving forward, right? Yeah. Who needs to step in there?
We have to get into that a whole nother pot, but that I have a lot of thoughts on that. But yeah, I mean it's a hot mess. Going to the new year with a new administration. I hope that we see something different. I am skeptical.
Let's talk about it. Tell me, what are your thoughts on our newly elected president? Are you riding with Biden?
Well, okay. Biden's going to be a one-term president.
I agree.
Simone Sanders went to go work for Kamala Harris, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, she's now the spokesperson for both President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Harris.
Right. So she's basically going to be setting up the run for Kamala these next 4 years. That's basically what her job is going to be. Yep. Which I trust her. She's a kingmaker. The biggest thing is, can the Democrats not bother anybody for 4 years? Get common sense things passed, not ruffle any real feathers, and set the stage for Kamala to be president in 4 years. Because I think, if that happens in 4 years, then I think we can see legitimate change. I don't think you're going to see it under a Biden administration. The biggest thing was trying to find normalcy back into the government. So I think we're going to get normalcy. I do think that. I think Mitch McConnell's going to stop playing because him and Joe, they friends, I mean, one want to beat their slaves, the other want to teach them how to read. So, but
yeah,
I mean,
one of them wants to have a beer with him.
Yeah, he want to have a beer with slaves. I mean, just as you know what I'm saying, but I don't think Joe doesn't want to ruffle feathers. He just doing his civic duty right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the focus was get Trump out of office.
Right, and that's what we did.
Anyone but Trump. Yeah.
So it's important that it sets the stage for Kamala to actually win the presidency in 4 years. So can the Democrats not bother anybody? Can they find a message that speaks to the heart of people, of the voting base of people that they seem to alienate a lot? Because Democrats are terrible with messaging. I think a lot of things they want to do make a lot of sense, but they're broken up in so many fractions that they can't really get anything done. And Obama was great because Obama could speak to every fraction within that party. It's kind of hard to have somebody that can galvanize all those people at one time, and Joe definitely can't do it. They just showed him have a meeting with the NAACP, and the way he's talking, I'm like, well, I'm not surprised, but it's like maybe let's get away from in front of black people talking. Like enough.
Right. Let's remove all the hot mics.
Yeah, not good at that.
Like mute them now, mute them.
Yeah, not good at that shit.
Let me ask you this: you as a black man, you expressed that you were concerned about Kamala Harris coming into office just as a vice president. What's it going to take for Kamala to earn your vote in 2024?
I'm going to vote for Kamala. I like Kamala. Like I said, I've researched her history enough that I'm comfortable with her because. Although she was a hard prosecutor, she was very much a progressive as in the Senate. And somebody was like, "Well, that's because she flip flops." Well, I like to think that people learn as they go on a job, and you may feel a certain kind of way as a prosecutor, and you may completely realize that didn't really work. Because I remember Obama having a long form discussion with David Simon, and he talked about how we all thought being tough on crime was the way to get elected.
Yeah,
and he said we was all wrong. You know what I'm saying? And you don't hear a lot of politicians say that. But the Democrats have governed in that way since Obama said that. So I'm comfortable with Kamala. The one thing that they have to do when you're talking about speaking to black men, they have to find a way to not only just talk about money and talk about infrastructure, but they got to find a way to include black men in some of these plans. And a lot of the reason is because of black men. We need to show up and show out all the time and not always, it can't always be about what we're going to get out of it. Sometimes you just have to be the backbone. Black women have always been the backbone of the Democratic Party. And, black men vote, but we don't show up and show out. We're not going to be loud vocals on it when it comes to voting. You know what I'm saying? We're just going to quietly go into there and cast our ballot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I find it interesting that you say that. And I thank you for bringing that point up because black women have carried most elections, right? Because we show up, we vote multiple times, we vote often, we
organize.
We do a lot of things that we don't necessarily always get credit for.
Right.
But I also was very surprised during this, election campaign when I was hearing from black men and they're saying that nobody is speaking to us. No one is, speaking to my needs or to my thoughts or to, why I need to go out and vote. And that struck me. And this is not for all black men, but it struck me because when I asked black men, what would it take for you to vote for a Biden-Harris ticket? I didn't get answers. I just got, well, Kamala did this when she was a prosecutor, and Kamala did that. I got a lot of Trump speaking points.
Yeah, okay, so this is what I think it is. And I'm just saying, I don't know gay people. I don't have a problem with gay people. All right, just want to put this out there. But I think a lot of black men feel emasculated by certain talking points and speaking points within the Democratic Party when you talk about transgenders and the LGBTQ, the alphabet community. They feel alienated by some of these things. And my opinion is you don't have to consume certain things, right? And also, I also think that black men in general want to hear more about how are we going to create money, like money, 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 money. Black men need money. You know what I'm saying? And when you're talking about all these different things, that's like gay rights and hiring more women and women doing this and women doing that. I think a lot of black men take that like it emasculates them. I don't know why that is. I don't feel that way. But when I listen to black men like behind closed doors and not in front of women, they always talk about, well, here we go with this again. Here we go with that again. It's like, dude, I don't know what to tell you, bro. Like women are actually more educated. Black women are a little bit more educated than black men. Currently, statistically speaking, they go to college to get their degrees, you know, so they deserve more advancement if they're going to work on these jobs and be a part of. Black women are more marketable. Black women are way more marketable than black men, you know. And I think a lot of these, when they hear these certain things, it makes them feel emasculated. And I think that's what it's about. And talking about racism with black men, it doesn't work because we feel like all white people are racist. We just kind of bake it in there like, well, you're just as racist as he is. He's just a loud racist and you're just a quiet racist.
The overt versus covert racism.
Right. So we don't trust you anyway. So it's like, I think that's something Democrats need to get away from. They need to get away from this racism talking points because white people trying to tell black people what's racist is irritating. Because you really know better.
It's very interesting. And again, I'm not here to discount your points because, again, I'm not in those rooms where you're speaking to other black men. I just always question, you know, when people say, well, nobody's speaking to me or nobody's, you know, tapping on my heartstrings as to why, you know, I should vote for them or, you know, we feel like we're being left out. And I ask, well, what are you looking for? What do you want? It's always met with what's happening versus what the desire is, right?
Right.
I'm looking for the positive outcome. What are you looking for? Mm-hmm. Tell me what you want and make those demands heard to the people who can influence the change.
But
right?
black women are way more, and women in general, but especially black women, they're way more thorough. They're going to read through the Biden and Kamala Harris plan. They're going to read through all of that. Mm-hmm. Black men, we just want the bullet points. Where the money coming from? When it's getting there.
Points and summarize.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? How much money is it? When it's gonna get there? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it a tax cut? How much money can I get back on my check? It's just that simple. But with Democrats, I think they want to prove how smart they are because they are smart. In my opinion, I think the Democrats are a little bit more educated. They talk to a more educated group. They speak to a more of an educated group.
They speak to that hardworking, educated class of people, right?
Right. And I don't think a lot of black men, like, you know, like even with the Ice Cube situation, it's like Ice Cube come out with this plan. I was like, Cube, this plan has been out for 15 years, Cube. You know what I'm saying? You're not reinventing the wheel, but he didn't know that. You know, he thought he had did something that was great. He been home on the pandemic. He been on this tight rider, growing his beard out. He think he like Malcolm X. You know what I'm saying? But no. Black women been doing this. Black women have been doing this.
I'm not new to this.
Yeah, so I think that's a big part of it. But it's a lot of black men in the Democratic Party that do great work, like Bakari Sellers, Vince Williams. I mean, it's
Hakeem Jeffries, couple of, you know, even Cory Booker. Got to give it to him, right?
Yeah, even though he need to stop that, it just come on out. He need to come on out and just let that go.
You know, I am not big on outing people. You can love out loud. When you're ready to tell us who you love, I am ready.
Was that like the biggest joke? Him and Rosario Dawson dating? Everybody was like, okay, dude.
You know, I honestly believe that they're in an open polyamorous relationship.
Yeah, they had something.
I honestly believe that they are in an open poly relationship.
Nobody believed that was real.
And if they like it, I love it.
All right.
I know we're talking about some of the things that we've seen. We're talking about some of these things that, you know, have happened in 2020. And we got to get to the tough things, right? You know, again, I can tell you this is going to be one of those moments where you're always going to remember where you were when you heard it. And, you know, one of the things that I think we're all still dealing with, you know, even, you know, 11, 12 months later is, you know, we lost an NBA legend, an NBA champion. We lost, you know, Kobe Bean Bryant. And you know, I will tell you that I've always been in awe of Kobe because of his work ethic, um, and just seeing how resilient he is, right? Seeing how passionate he is, and things of that nature. And I can remember when he went to prom with Brandy. I can
Right.
remember when they kept talking about this kid from, Lower Marion, PA, and all these
We
other
grew up.
different things.
We grew up with him.
We literally grew up with Kobe
Yeah.
Bryant, right? So, it was January. I was getting off of a plane and I was heading to a conference. And on the plane, I'm listening to music. I land and my phone, the alerts just start going off.
Right.
And as it's coming over, I'm like, no, they got this wrong. Like, no, like this is not right. I'm waiting for the retraction. I'm waiting for the error. I'm waiting for, something, because soon as I got like maybe the seventh alert, I literally called, my best friend, and because he was on the way to the conference, and I was like, "Yo, did you see this?
Yeah.
Like, did you hear this?" And like I said, it's one of those moments where you're always going to remember where you were when you found out. How did you find out about Kobe's passing?
Man, that was a sad day for me, man. And I'm be honest with you, I'm a very unemotional person. And that's not a good thing. I'm not saying that like I'm strong. I'm not strong. It's actually not a good thing to be unemotional. I was asleep because I worked night shift, and it happened during the daytime. And my boss kept calling my phone, and I'm like, man, I don't want to talk to him. Now I like, went back to sleep. And I woke back up like, damn, he called 3 times. Let me, maybe I'm off of work today. Maybe they saying don't come to work.
Right.
So I was like, I need to pick up the phone. So I pick up the phone. He's like, man, you see, man, Kobe passed away. I was like, what? Get out of here. So I hung the phone up. And I seen on my, cause I was thinking it's TMZ. TMZ's probably lying again. They killed Denzel Washington 12 times like one year.
Yep. They've killed multiple stars.
Yeah, Morgan Freeman died every month for like the last 6 years or whatever. So I was thinking it wasn't real. Then I looked on Twitter, and then I was like, one report, then another report. And I was like, dang, man, Kobe really passed away. Then I was like, I really hope he wasn't with his daughter. That was literally like my second thought, because I knew him and Gigi was doing so much stuff together. Like every time you see Kobe, you'll see his daughter with him. And I was like, I really hope he wasn't with his daughter. Then when they said his daughter was with him, I was just like, it made me really emotional, man, because he died being a father, and I identify myself as a dad now. I mean, that's everything. And
right.
The fact that he was, and the fact that they died, that she was in fear, and he had to look at her in fear, like, it makes me emotional just thinking about that. It's just, it was really sad. And I actually wrote a letter to my son, I think that next day, because I always try to send him an email like once a month, or at least once every 3 months. I try to write something to him. So it's something he had when he graduated high school in 18 years. But yeah, man, it was one of the saddest things. I was just laying in bed. I didn't even want to go to work the next day, and it was just sad, man. And everybody was so broken up about it, because you're supposed to watch NBA legends grow old. Bill Russell's still alive. Bill Russell's he's gonna pass out the MVP trophy next year. I mean, Jerry West is alive. Dr. J, they're alive. They on sidelines, and I thought Kobe was gonna not own an NBA franchise. I thought he was gonna be the commissioner of the WNBA, because he was champion of the WNBA so much, and he was doing it. He just won an Oscar, and he's doing all these things, and it's crazy. And I kind of felt like Kobe made Michael Jordan come out of his shell, because Jordan was in such a shell, and because of Kobe influence on him, it was like he was bringing Jordan out of the shell. We was kind of getting to know Michael Jordan a little bit better, and
we saw Jordan as human because of Kobe.
Right, because he all like, my big brother Jordan, he's like, damn, Jordan care about people, and it was just like, it just was sad. It's one of those things that was just very traumatic and heartbreaking. It really was.
Yeah, and I think the thing that hurt me the most, him passing was number one. Number two was how his wife found out.
Yeah.
Like she found out like we found out.
And that
right?
was horrible. That was horrible.
And just imagine the sheer, pain and shock that she's going through, that, her husband and her daughter,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and then even to the point where people thought she was dead because they assumed that the family was in the helicopter, and that rumor got, shut down. And then it's just like these things were happening so fast, and she was forced to deal with it in a way that I don't feel anybody should ever have to go through. I found out my brother passed on Facebook when somebody hit me up and was like, "Rest in peace," and I was like, "Wait, like what?" But I can't imagine someone of the magnitude of a Vanessa Bryant having to find that out on a Sunday, literally, just going about her day, and alerts are going off, and she found out like a regular citizen, because technically someone leaked it to TMZ, right?
Right.
And that's how it got out. And it's, it's disgusting, it's repulsive.
Right.
I can't find enough big words to say how horrible that was. But I feel that when you get peeks and glimpses into the man that Kobe was, you just feel like you're robbed. You feel like you're robbed of his greatness. You feel like you're robbed of, his next act in life, right? Because there were so many things that he was doing that you could see the trajectory of where it was going, and it just got cut off.
Yeah.
And much like you, it made me want to call, everybody and just be like, hey, I love you, and I want you to know that. I don't want you to go another day without knowing that I love you, without you hearing it from me directly, and things like that. But it also showed me that no matter, how much you empathize with someone or something that happens, there's always going to be some segment of people that are going to find a way to bring up all the negativity, and bringing up, the rape charges, and bringing up, these different things. And again, I think as Kobe matured as an adult and as a man, he never once, bashed that young lady, even though the Oscars tried to keep him out. He never disparaged the Oscars because of that. And, and this is a crime that he was not convicted of, right? And evidence showed, different things here. But, I think the thing that disgusted me the most, where they were basically saying that he deserved to die because of the alleged rape. And I'm saying to myself, you're the same person that voted for the occupant of the White House who has multiple rape charges against him now. So,
and brags about it.
So, to hammer home on the Kobe point, is one of those things where you just feel robbed. You feel, that you start to realize your own mortality, right?
Yeah.
You start to deal with, your own thoughts of death, and in your next phase of life, and how many years do you have left, and what do you want to do or accomplish? What mark are you going to leave? Like, these are all the things that come through your stream of consciousness as you're processing what's happening to a legend. So it's
it's crazy. You talk about mortality, because it's like I never really thought about mine until I actually had my son. Like, looking at him, like, man, it's like a little human, and he's gonna get older. And I mean, I got to get older. You know what I'm saying? And just it was a very shocking. And it's like God have no respect to person. So you just look at all the evil stuff you see people do. And these people are gonna live on and get old and be evil. You know what I'm saying? And then you watch people like Kobe, and the next guy we're gonna talk about, Chadwick Boseman, and these people just.
Oh man.
It just tears you apart. But in some ways, I always be like, well, maybe they're just too good for this, And but Chadwick Boseman was another one. The Black Panther dying. That was sad for me also, because I was enjoying his art, and I love great actors and people that's really good at their art form. And he was one of those people that people used to make jokes like, well, if it's a famous Black person, Chadwick Boseman's going to play him, right? Yeah, but he was so good at that, man. He was a really good actor, man, and losing him and not being able to see the fulfillment of the Black Panther trilogy would have It's like we lose the art, but then you think about he did all of this dealing with cancer,
Right.
and that was another sad one.
Yeah, I think the Chadwick Boseman piece, again, it hurts because we lost another great at such a young age, and I also, I appreciate that outpouring of love by so many people.
Mm-hmm.
People sharing how he was just a genuine person, someone who showed love, someone who was literally the light in the room, right? Like,
Right.
I think so many people said that about him. And I even appreciate the honesty of, a lot of the people who didn't understand. And I believe one of the gentlemen from the Netflix movie he was in, directed by the Spike Lee, The Four Bloods, I believe is the name of it. And
Mm-hmm.
the gentleman said that, he would notice that Chadwick would have like these different people that would come in and massage him and different
Yeah.
handlers and things. And he even said that he didn't give him as much grace as he should have because he didn't know, because Chadwick did not want to be known by his ailment. He
Right.
wanted to be known for his art, for his craft, and what he put into it. And I totally can admire that. And when that gentleman said that, he thought that Chadwick had gotten, too
A big
big,
head. Yeah.
and he thought that he was just full of himself, and that's why he was doing all these different things, to only find out later that, he was dealing with this, and he still showed up to work. He never made excuses and things like that. And to
Mm-hmm.
hear people give their honest, candid feedback about him, and knowing that he's an HBCU alum, knowing that
Yeah.
he's continued to give back, knowing that he's made the impression upon, everyone around him, even learning the story about how Denzel paid for his acting school. And then he was able
Yeah.
to thank Denzel personally.
Yeah.
Things like that, like, you really, really, appreciate and respect someone like a Chadwick Boseman, and your heart hurts for, his family, and just losing a legend like that, outside of just,
Yeah.
being the Black Panther. And I always say that representation matters, but I loved how, even though people made fun of it, when Black
Mm-hmm.
Panther came out, Black History Month, we showed up and showed out. I love seeing people come out in their African attire. I love the
Yeah.
memes. I love the videos. I loved everything, because I'm like, where can we be ourselves? Where can we celebrate
Right.
ourselves? And if we can't do that in, in praising the different movies and different music and genres and things that people are in, then where
Yeah.
can we? And I love that about us. So, seeing these little kids in Black Panther costumes and seeing
Yeah.
themselves as, comic book heroes, and seeing themselves as Chadwick, like
Right.
that to me, touched my heart. And I just, hate that we lost him so young.
Yeah, man. That speech with him and with him thanking Denzel. Man, that was pretty cool because you don't realize, Denzel don't make a big, that's why I call him Uncle Denzel. Uncle Denzel is always just doing things, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
He's passing out 20s to people when he just walked by, like it's Uncle Denzel, like, you know what I'm saying? It's been so many actors and actresses that he's done stuff for, and Chad was on his way to be not just a big, he was a big star, but it was on the way to be like a Hollywood legend, especially
Yep.
some of the projects they had coming out with him. And for him to sit there and say, water the guy that has watered, and just that whole speech was amazing. But yeah, man, R.I.P. Chadwick Boseman, man. Man, it just sucks, man. Him and Kobe, it just sucks.
Rest in peace to the greats. We're
Yeah.
gonna take a small break, and we'll be right back to wrap up. So what's next?